Welcome to Play With It with Cass Allen. We in this week talking about dating across religions. The topic this week has been differences that may matter. We've talked about living in the closet. We've talked about living out loud. We discussed dating across races, and we've discussed dating across classes. And we're going to end with, like I said, dating across religions. I mean, by religions, obviously, I mean divisions that are based on faith and worship. We have a lot of religions out here, a lot more than I thought. And we have some that dominate, such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, so forth and so on, Taoism. And by dominate, I mean there are millions represented in each of those. And others, but I can't be here all day. Show'll be too fucking long if I go into all of them. Just giving you some examples of what I define as religion. Sometimes people don't mix because of their religions. They're so faith-based and they want to have children and they want their children to grow in certain faiths. Some people are open to having children with duality as far as faith-based duality. Um, I have no judgment there. People have the right to practice what they want. I can only hope that your faith drives you towards doing good deeds. That's what I hope for all people across all religions. You know, that you really focus on the part that helps this earth populate and grow in a positive way, regardless of what you're calling out. I think everybody has a right to believe in what they want, whether you believe in a rock, a person, a imagery, a element. You have that right. We all have the right to wake up every day and aspire to go on our missions, you know, based on what we believe in the experiences that we have that some of us deem as supernatural. And by that, I mean things that aren't normal to discuss, you know, conversations with higher powers and all kinds of miracles that take place in everybody's day that we call inexplicable at times. Some people don't mind, like I said, dating across religion. They encourage duality with the faith-based practices that their children undergo. Some people don't care because they're just in it for some quickies, you know, and like we talk about short term versus long term. You know, if I'm just out here, I don't give a fuck. You know, I just want some pussy. I don't care where she from, what a race is, a religion. That's, you know, that's how people are. It's just the pussy, the pussy. You want it to be clean. That's pretty much what you're thinking about. That's the category. That's the difference that matters. Is it clean or it's not clean? I don't care who she prays to. I don't care what's in her pockets. And I don't care about where she come from. Just want to hit a nut. Okay? But long term, we want babies. We want to introduce people to our families. We have moral codes. We have practices. We have hierarchy. Now these things are starting to matter. Woo, baby. If I bring, woo, baby. I bring home, that's all you're thinking. If I bring home my this, that. If I bring home my this, that, it's going to be a situation. It's going to be unbearable. We're going to have inexplicable results with the hierarchy of the religion in my church or whatever sector that I belong to. You know, there's a possibility that I may be ousted from everything that is represented by my community if I bring this person into the church that is not of the same faith. You know, there are things people have to think about when dating. Do I want to raise my kids with dual religions? Some people don't. Some people are so hooked in their own religion, they've been raised that way. Their kids have been raised that way so far. The rest need to be raised that way. The whole family goes to the church. This is what we do. And if you don't, you will be ousted. You know, you don't want to take on a situation like that either, where you may face an opportunity to lose everything you have. So, there are reasons sometimes that people do what they do. Sometimes different faiths come with different races. Without naming any of the associations, in order to practice a certain faith, you have to break ties with your whole race, your whole cultural heritage. Some people are not willing to do that. Then you have people out here who are they don't care about religion. So they're okay with you practicing whatever you want to practice because they're not interested. There are people out here who feel they must date someone who is religious based. These things matter. So, during the dating season, hey, y'all know, add it. I'm not talking a checklist necessarily. I'm talking conversation, things to try to talk about. Are you faith based? If so, what faith? And not just what faith, do you practice? How often do you practice? What's the extent? Are you 100% follower of the things that you read? Are you loose? Do you shift based on, what feels right? Be honest. Ask them. Like, have you always been this religion? Sometimes people tell you their religion and you just make an assumption this nigga was born this way. And you ask the right questions and find out this is the eighth one they practiced it in the last couple of years because he or she is trying to find himself or herself or themselves. They, you know, ask the right questions. You're assuming, oh, this nigga this ain't gonna work. Well, guess what? It's only been 4 days since nigga been that. They're probably gonna change to what you are next if they're on a journey and you're gonna introduce something they're not familiar with that doesn't have a reputation for being associated with harm. Mhm. Sometimes the question is not enough. You need multiple questions. Don't just scratch the surface with a checklist. People are so used to this checklist. I used to talk about this in another show I used to do. I even did a show with a woman I followed through her dating of 10 men, to see how these things played out, different things that mattered, depending on the given day, the race, the class, the religion. Religion mattered a lot to her. It was interesting to follow her through that part of her own journey. It helped me to realize, it does play a bigger role, than some people realize until they're up for that discussion. Because sometimes religion comes with practices, and the practices may contradict. Some people practice at home. Some people practice in a public setting. Some people want to partner with them while they're practicing because they want to go on a spiritual journey with a partner. Some people want a first lady. Some people need a deacon behind them. We all have different goals, and they're all okay. Like to me personally, like I said, we all gonna fuck up in life as long as your religions lead to things that imply good deeds. I think it's all good. I've been a lucky person to grow up in New York. I explain to people growing up in New York, it's like growing up in the United Nations because people come here from all over the world. That's not the case in every state and every city in New York. You don't get the opportunity to meet people from all over the world, to pass celebrities in the street, to pass wealth in the street like there's nothing to it. To 1 second, to see every religion within a block, taking a walk. That's not the experience of a lot of people in this world on an everyday basis. So I feel very blessed to grow up in this hub and be exposed to the diversity that is the world without traveling the world. I've been able to see it through conversation with people. And religion has been, one of the things I've discussed with people. And I feel, and I've always been fascinated by all peoples. I'll ask you questions about anything, as long as they're not uncomfortable. find that the bottom line is when it comes to religion, it seems like most people are just on a journey where they want to do good. You know, they want a disciplined practice in their life that leads to beautiful trees in the yard. They want to work toward providing a structure for their kids to grow up in that's honorable and fair and supportive of the people around them. So I'm not inclined for religion to matter on the degree of you have to have a certain name. I more so care about how you use your heart and spirit to apply your faith. So on that note, we're gonna go to talking about how differences matter as we close out the week. Um, I've said it over the past few days, and I'll say it one more time. Differences may matter. These things are important to some people. So get used to having these healthy, full conversations. It's okay to spend 2 hours talking about all the things you have in common, all the restaurants you both been to, all the places you both been, all the people you both know. That shit is important too. But so is this shit. You out dating, asking. I told you. It should be okay. If any of this stuff, and I repeat, if any of this stuff makes people mad, then screen's not frozen. That's me doing my Scooby Doo. Why are you mad? Because I'm trying to get to know you. The fuck are you ticked about? I'm asking you too many questions now, and all I want to know is your religion. So, okay, I'm not going to digress, but y'all know what I'm saying. Going to keep stressing it. Be transparent. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, because these are people that you're giving your energy to. You're giving them your energy. You're giving them your time, giving them your space. Don't you want it to be authentic? This has been Cass Allen. Play with it. Have a good day and have a good night.